What's up, guys? Welcome back to part 2 of our episode. The most intriguing questions for each team. Sam here with Gab and Maui. Say hi again, boys.
Hello.
Yeah! Let's
Back-to-back
go!
episodes
Marathon
again.
hanggang
Let's go.
UAP!
Oo nga. So, we're doing back-to-back episodes for you guys para sa upcoming UAP season, which is starting on September 30. So, this is part 2 of our episode of the biggest questions or most intriguing storylines for each team. If you haven't seen the first episode, I strongly suggest you check that out. Go to our playlist or go to our channel and look for the first part and then go back here, watch the second part. So we are going to tackle the last four teams. That's Ateneo, Adamson, LaSalle, and FEU. To kick things off, Gab, let's talk about Adamson. What's your biggest question for Adamson this season?
I think the biggest question for Adamson has already been talked about in the news and in the social media circles. Is
Mm-hmm.
Jerome
Mm-hmm.
Lastimosa going to play? That is, I think, the most
Mm-hmm.
intriguing
Same question.
storyline right now for Adamson because honestly, this will dictate their future. This will dictate where they're gonna go. If Jerome Lastimo, if you guys remember in season 85, Jerome Lastimo also had an injury, which was rumored to be parang a broken toe or something like that, diba? And it ended up being not too serious, and he ended up returning for the end of the second round and eventually carry them to the final four. There is news, there are rumors, unconfirmed news that Jerome Lastimosa might have torn his ACL, and if that happens, he's out for season 86, which can, you know, kind of be a good thing for Adamson. I mean, they're not stuck anymore with this in between of trying just to make it to the final four without trying to win a championship or trying to fully rebuild. You see what they've got yung with the young guys, uh, and just hopefully find some gems that can be future stars. No, but if Jerome stays there again, they're gonna try to compete. They're not gonna be as they're not gonna be a contender with Jerome there. You given their lineup, but they're gonna try to compete. They're gonna try to ride Jerome Lastimosa as long as possible. I mean, we've seen this before in the past, and honestly, they've been more successful when Jerome Lastimosa does not have a huge burden all on his shoulders. When other guys are trying to create, are trying to make plays. Uh, but yeah, yun eh. Ang hirap i-predict ang Adamson if whether Jerome plays or not. And without any confirmation, that's uh, everyone is left hanging in the air. I mean, we don't know, but that's I think a big question for the both of you guys as well.
Yeah. I agree. Same question, Gab. I just phrased it differently. For me, the question was, have we seen Lastimosa's last game? So, kind of similar to Gab's point. Uh, there's a big question mark on what happened to Lastimosa. I'm not sure if may nabasa ka na, Maui, but ako hindi ko din alam kung confirmed na ACL, but the rumors are it is an ACL. And if that's the case, as Gab mentioned, that's probably we're not gonna see him this season, and we probably seen his last game. If that's the case, napakalungkot nung nangyari kay Jerome kasi he already fulfilled his promise. He brought Adamson to the Final Four last season. Was leaning towards, 'di ba, may rumors na he was, that was his final season. He had this goodbye. We've talked about this, and he's been so loyal to the school that and to his coach and to his team na he decided to play out his final season, and this happens. Malungkot lang talaga para sa akin. So I hope hindi totoo na ACL siya. Maybe may miracle ulit na he'll come back just like last season when he injured his toe. But Just like UE, it's not looking good for Jerome Lastimosa and Adamson. Silver lining, I guess, to Gab's point. I didn't think about that, but tama ka naman, Gab. It helps them move on to the next chapter.
If
Yeah.
Jerome does not play, the same question is gonna be for you. The same question as what I mentioned for kay UE sa last episode natin. How many games are they going to win? I mean, they lost nearly their whole rotation.
Yeah.
Flowers, Doanga, Manlapas, now Jerome. I mean, no one's left. Well, si Baby Boy is still there, but
Baby
wala na.
boy.
Oh, Maui, sorry, I disrupted your
Yeah. Yeah,
what you were gonna say.
I think we have unanimously the same questions for Adamson. I think Jerome Lastimosa is Adamson the past few seasons. Where Jerome goes,
Tama,
Adamson
tama.
goes. I think that was proven last year when he went back and really pulled them through and got them into the final four. The question is, if he does have a torn ACL or a partially torn ACL, will he still play? I mean, this is Jerome Lastimosa we're talking about. This is a guy who had a broken toe and still managed to force himself to play uh, last season just to get Adamson to the final four. Ange Kwame had an ACL injury last year and still played for Ateneo because it was going to be his last year. Now the question is, will Jerome Lastimosa, if he doesn't indeed have an ACL, torn ACL, will he still play? Hopefully he doesn't. Nothing. I want nothing but the best for all of the UAP teams. We want them to compete. Having the best competition, similar to last season, is what we want to expect for season 86. But I think Jerome Lastimosa has to think of himself. He has to prioritize his health and I mean, there were rumors of him getting offers abroad, probably the KBL or in the B League. I hope if he's injured, whether it's a torn ACL or a very bad knee injury or anything, hopefully he prioritizes his health and just comes back when he's ready, when he's really healthy. I think he has to prioritize his future. Sayang naman, I think he has a bright future. Jerome Lastimosa's gone a long way. I think he was a walk-in sa Adamson and it really pains me to see if this will be his last game in Adamson, but I think he has to prioritize yung health niya. Again, I think much like you guys, where Jerome Lastimosa is, that's where Adamson goes. But maybe Gab is right. Maybe Adamson just has to rebuild this season. I think hopefully doesn't mean that Coach Nash will not also be back in season 87 if they don't perform well. I think Coach Nash has been one of the best UAAP coaches the past decade or so. We saw Olsen Racela get kicked out of FEU, so it and many other coaches this offseason getting the boot. So hopefully, if they do lose Jerome and they struggle this season, hopefully they just use it to rebuild for season 87 and further.
Praying for Jerome's health also. Good point, Maui. Let's move on to our next team. Another very intriguing team. Maraming nangyaring pagbabago sa team na to. They changed their coach. They got a lot of new recruits and they have a lot of returning veterans that are stars in the making or current stars. Let's talk about the DLSU Green Archers. Gab, what's your biggest question for your favorite
My biggest
enemy?
question my biggest question for LaSalle is, can they find consistency? We all talked about, I think
Good point.
we did we talked about LaSalle the most in season 85. And not because they were good, because they were very disappointing. They were our Bolero of the season in
Preseason
season
favorites
85.
niyo yun.
Yes. Pick namin. Pick mo rin yun, Gab, di ba? Pick ko yun
Yeah.
eh.
Yeah, it's also our pick to
Yeah.
win the title, and it didn't work out well for us. But yeah, they were our Bolero of the season, Lasal. High expectations coming to this season. They were performing really well this preseason. Topek has them playing together. They have good vibes around them. They have good vibes when you watch them. The problem is, and I think this showed especially late in the preseason of this preseason, and it showed all throughout season 85. They could not get consistent how do you performances out of their players. There were times they looked like they were contenders. Remember, do you guys remember that game against UP in the second round where Kevin Kiambao dominated against Carl Tamayo, and you're all like, "Oh my God, this is the Kevin Kiambao we wanted to see," and they look like a championship contender. They look like they were getting it together. But alas, the next few games they lost to UE, they lost to
Cellar
NU.
Dweller teams.
They lost to Seller to other teams, and they're like, "What? They just won against UP." And I think it's gonna be the same story again this season. We saw kind of a similar pattern in this preseason for LaSalle. All throughout the preseason, they looked dominant. They ran, they pressed teams, they fast-paced offense. They were running teams out of the building. They ran Ateneo out of the building in their matchup in the Phil Oil. Yes. And they look legit, but when they matched up against UP in the finals, what happened? Oh, now they're turning the ball over. They couldn't get their shots to fall. They were
rattled.
All throughout that game. They look rattled. They were so inconsistent. They found their groove in the mid of the fourth quarter, then lost it towards the end. So a lot of inconsistency with this team. Then against Ateneo in the Katayawan tournament, they looked really good at some spots. They looked bad at some in the first half, especially when Ateneo was leading. So for me, it's going to be the same story this season. Can they find consistency? Evanel has shown himself to be the most consistent player, but other players, I want them to step up. Mark Nonoy is very consistent. Kevin Kiambao sometimes looks like a mythical 5 team member. There are times, like in the UP game, he has no effect on the game whatsoever. So yun, interesting to see. They're a Jekyll and Hyde team, Lasal. They can be a contender, but they can also be out of the Final Four like last season. Again, intriguing. Intriguing to watch.
Hindi na optimistic. Hindi ka na optimistic.
Wait. Mau.
Cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously, yes. I think that's the right term for me. Cautiously optimistic. I don't want to make repeat of what Sam and I did last preseason, calling them our predictions for champions. But I think they're good. They're good, but can they get themselves together and be good?
Yeah.
So frustrating to talk about LaSalle.
Maui.
Yeah. I think yung question ko is very similar to Gab. My question is LaSalle legitimately a contender for next season? And I think the answer is a yes. I think the coaching change from Manong Derek to Coach Topex, I think will pay dividends. Nothing against Coach Derek Pumaren, but I think Coach Topex is the right guy to really take them to the next level. Yung mga fans that are hating on Coach Topex just because of the early losses they had this preseason, shame on you. I think you have to trust the process. I think the most important thing about LaSalle is not just about this season. The most important thing about LaSalle is really building that culture, that championship culture. That has not been present probably since the Franz Pumaren days. LaSalle has been very inconsistent the past decade or so. And I know the alumni have been very, very frustrated and very, very disappointed. And I think that they have to give a coach a chance. And I think Coach Topex is the right person for that. But yeah, I agree with Gab. I think Kevin Kiambao has to be more consistent. There are games that he is the best player on the court. There are games that he just completely disappears. I think the development also of Mike Phillips hopefully carries that on into the UAAP. If you watch LaSalle this offseason, he's not just that big that you drop, pass, and dunk and get the offensive rebound and put back and just get a ton of rebounds. He's a big that can create off the dribble from the post. And I think Coach Topex empowering these players like Yambao to shoot more threes, Phillips to create on his own baskets is really a step in the right direction in LaSalle. Probably yung system kasi ni Coach Derek Pumaren was very disciplined and hard-nosed. I think they integrated some of the Pumaren press also into their defense. But yeah, I think LaSalle is a team to watch out for this this season. But as Gab mentioned, we have to be cautiously optimistic. But I'm hoping that they do build upon this season. Not just to win the championship, but they need to be a contender. LaSalle and UST and FEU always has to be contenders in the UAAP. These teams are staples in UAAP basketball. We want to see them at their best. I want to see multiple Ateneo LaSalle games na competitive. Ayoko na yung blowouts and 20-point wins and sobrang depressed and mga friends. I want to see great Ateneo LaSalle games. That's one of my wish lists for season 86. This off-season, yung games ng Ateneo, yung una, I think you fail oil. LaSalle run Ateneo out of the gym. Yung Kadayawan naman, it was a very good game. I'm hoping for more games like that. But yeah, I think really the question is this the same LaSalle team as season 85 off-season? All the promise, all the hype, and then they just falter when the season starts. But yeah, hopefully they are for real. I think they are for real just because of the coaching change also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same question as Gab and Maui. Same question as Gab, basically, Maui, diba? So, good point there. I you know what? I agree with you guys. Didn't think about that, but I think that's a good question. When you talk about LaSalle, it's really about their consistency. For me, medyo dalawang questions yung 2-in-1 questions yung ginawa ko. For me, it's can LaSalle stay healthy and avoid the drama? Yun yung question na naisip ko. So, I think in part
That's a good one.
That's a good
Health
one.
pala,
Drama.
no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ako,
So
the drama.
Yes.
And the drama, diba? So in part 1, we talked about UE and their drama. We have to talk about LaSalle and the whatever the drama happened last season. I think I still believed in that team. Shawnee Winston was basically locked in as MVP based on the statistical points. Up until he got injured, that's where it sort of started to go downhill for them. But surprisingly, they were still competitive. Pero nung pabalik na si Shawnee, biglang meron palang issue with like the coaches not jiving with Shawnee and things like that. And I remember specifically when we did like our recap review of the LaSalle for last season and we invited our friend si Apo. Reaction ni Apo, typical LaSalle drama. Typical LaSalle issues. He's not surprised. Alam mo, mataas standards ng LaSalle pero may mga things na nangyayari talagang ganyan. So, I agree with Maui. I think Coach Topex is one of the best coaches locally and he can really build a good system in LaSalle. But can the fans, the alumni stay patient enough and see that system grow or flourish in LaSalle? And can everyone just buy in to that mindset or that system of Coach Topex? We don't know. So hopefully Topex will be there for a long time. He can avoid the drama. Alam ko, sabi mo nga Maui, di ba? Warm practice games pa lang meron ng fire Topex. Ewan ko kung how legit those comments were, but hopefully he will survive yung um, mga high mataas talaga standards ng mga alumni kasi sanay silang nagcha-champion. But I think they got a good coach here and they have a very good team. Gab, you talked about UP having a hard time picking sino yung will make the final team. I think LaSalle also has a very stacked
Yep.
team. We talked about that. Okay. Next, let's talk about our next team. We're down to our last two teams. Next, we're going to talk about the FEU Tamaraws. I think it was in this episode na mention we don't have Rosella anymore, diba? I think Gab, you mentioned it.
Coach Denok
So
time.
what are you expecting from FEU this season? What's the biggest question for them? Let's start with you, Maui.
Yeah, I think yung biggest question naman natin with FEU, I think for me is can they get back to the Final Four this season? Will they deliver? I mean, losing Olsen Racela was a big blow. For me, in my opinion, he probably shouldn't have been sacked. But they had a very bad start last season. But we'll see. This season, I think yung biggest thing is really will they be able to relinquish go back to their old ways of being a title or just a Final Four contender at the very least. I think Coach Denok is part of one of the most dominating teams in FEU history, and they have entrusted him to lead this team. Definitely, we will have very good guard play in FEU. LJ Gonzalez is there. John Ray Pasaol is coming. Also coming. I think this is gonna be a classic FEU guard lineup, and they've been very exciting this offseason. Their wing players have been very good. Si Cholo Anonuevo finally is starting to deliver. Hopefully we see his breakout season this coming. And yeah, I think really the biggest question is will Coach Denok be able to elevate this team? Because they basically have mostly the same lineup. Probably just a few additions like si Pasaol. But the
Wala pa si
question,
Pasaol, Maui. High
wala
school
pa
pa
ba?
lang yan.
Next season
Wala pa
pa.
ba si
Next season
Pasaol?
pa.
Tama ba?
Wala
Alam ko
pa.
para high school pa lang siya, 'di ba? If I remember
Hindi,
correctly, I think it
naglalaro
was
na si
Yeah,
Pinoil eh. Naglalaro na si Pasaol.
Yeah, he's been playing, but it's still grade 11 pa lang siya nung last UAAP season. So he's grade 12 now.
Okay. So that just proves my point. They have basically the same
the
lineup
same
from
team.
last season, almost the same lineup from last season. But they have pieces that can really develop. But yeah, I guess the real question is really if they can get back to the Final Four. Will they be able to? If they start really well, I think they get to the Final Four. But if they start again very slow, like 0-3, 0-5, they will probably miss the Final Four again. But yeah, it's fun. We have a lot of new coaches in the UAAP. Coach Denok Miranda is one of those coaches. This is one of my favorite players in the UAAP. When I started watching the UAAP, I'm a small person, so I also love minions like Denok Miranda, and he was he was a beast during his UAAP days with Arwin Santos and sila Mark Isip. It's exciting to see an old face be the new face or the new coach of a team that he represented back in the day. Ganon katanda na tayo, guys, that one of the players that we used to watch
Shut up,
is
Maui.
now a coach
Shut
in
up.
the UAAP. But yeah, I guess that's really the question. Hopefully, will they be able to get back to the Final Four?
Si Maui talaga may patama pa sa age eh. Tama na pare. Okay na eh. UA basketball lang. Ako for FEU somewhat related. My question for FEU is can their offense keep up with their defense? Last season, the story with FEU throughout the entire season 85 is their offense sucked for most of the season. I think you guys watched the NU FEU game where it was 20 points in the end of the first half. They couldn't get any offense to go. Their defense was spectacular, but they couldn't get shots to go. And that was a story for FEU whole of season 85, talagang their offense couldn't get it going for long stretches. They had spurts, but otherwise wala eh. They lack a lot, and for their offense to keep up, for their offense to elevate, I think they have to do a couple of things. One, get more shooting in. It can't just be Cyrus Torres. They depend too much on Cyrus Torres to shoot threes for them. It can't just be him. Um, they have to get other players. I talked about Renzo Competente. He played in the ball out. I think it was ball out or the Pinoy
I think
Liga.
galing FEU
I saw
Juniors
him.
din yata yan, no? FEU Juniors, si
Yep.
Competente.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So I do want him to get more playing time and shoot more threes. But it seems like a lot of ball screens still run through Cyrus Torres. And aside from 4 out and one big to set screens and do pick and roll endlessly, I want to see more off ball movement from FEU. I know because they run that way. They run plays that way because they have a lot of good guards. They have LJ Gonzalez, who we still have not seen play since season 85, but presumably he's going to be back. He said he was going to be back for season 86. So he's still going to be their guy. Patrick Steed is still there. He runs a lot of pick and roll as well. And I'm actually leaning towards them trying to run more plays, gaya sabi ni Sam, through Cholo Anuevo. And the other guy, si Baguno. Baguno can make plays. I mean, he's not a guard, but he can be someone that flashes, anticipates in the dunker spots. He can shoot as well. So I want to see their offense kind of take it up a notch because actually the path is there for them to contend for a Final Four slot. UE, we've talked about them. They're not gonna go far. I mean, Remogat and Jackson, that's it. So they're not gonna make the Final Four. I wouldn't think. Jerome Lastimosa, we talked about it earlier, is possibly out for, if not all of the season, maybe a majority of the season. I think that automatically puts Adamson out of the Final Four race. UST, we don't know. So FEU possibly can be there. Can be there and contend for that number 4 slot. I think the top 3 is going to be pretty hard for them, but number 4, I think they have a good shot at it. I want to see them back, just like what Maui said. I want to see them back in the Final Four. I'll be happy to see FEU there and maybe try to get LJ Gonzalez at the one last hurrah. I think it was his last year. I mean, he looks old anyway.
I think si Pasaol, Gab, I
Sam.
checked. Si Pasaol yata is eligible for 86. I'm not sure.
So,
But some articles
eligible
online
na.
say is eligible. But we'll see. Even with him, I think FE is rolling with almost the same cast.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think you guys pretty much covered it. Same question for me. Can they make the Final Four or can they take it to the next level? You mentioned it, Gab. I think they can, but right now for me, they're on the outside looking in. I have Ateneo, UP, LaSalle, and NU over FEU, at least those 4, and then sabi natin, UST is a big question mark. So for me, as Maui mentioned, it's not very different from last year. Lalo na if Pasaol is not part of the team, no? So is that going to be enough? Changing Coach Denok and getting a new FSA enough to make it to the Final Four? I don't know. So I think that would be the question for FEU. But I think Maui, you made a good point. Definitely they can't start 0 and 6, 0 and 5 again and expect to make it to the Final Four. That just can't happen. Okay, let's go over to our last team. Now, you guys probably know the last team. We started with UP, one of the finalists in last season's tournament, and my pick personally for the favorite for this season. Let's end with the other finalist and defending champion, the Ateneo Blue Eagles. let's start with you, Gab. Ano yung biggest question mo para sa defending champs?
My biggest question for this season is, uh, can Kai Balungay elevate himself to MVP to an MVP contender? That's my biggest question, because with a lot of the main gunners gone and a lot of the go-to guys are gone. I mean, we talked about this before. 4 of the 5 in the starting lineup are gone. Kai Balunga is the only holdover from the starting 5 in season 85. And from the preseason, it looks like a lot of the offense is gonna run through Kai Balungay. They're gonna spam Kai Balungay to death it's season 86. Shooting threes, going for alley-oops, getting him mid-range shots. They're gonna run everything through him. And it helps also that he has that athletic ability to grab offensive rebounds, crash the boards, to go outside and shoot threes, to dribble, to drive in the paint, so to block shots on the defensive end. So he has all the skills, he has all the tools, to be that main guy. And I've liked what I've seen so far in the preseason. He looks like he's in for a mythical 5, at the least mythical 5 in season 86. Contend for MVP. I think I doubt it. I That's my question, because Malik Juf is still there. But Kai Balungay, man, he looks like a beast. He looked like a beast in the preseason. He looks like a beast coming into season 86, barring any injury. I think it's gonna be a big season for him. Maui.
Yeah, I think si Sam mentioned kanina UP being his title favorite for season 86. So my question
Nako, ito
is
na. Nako, ito na.
my question
Spoiler,
is
spoiler.
my question is, since a lot of my friends and family members and a lot of people are asking me, can Ateneo repeat as champions this coming season? And I think the answer is yes.
Resounding yes from Maui.
No. Hindi naman resounding yes, but I'm gonna say yes. We can do it. Ateneo can do it. And again, this is something that I have been repeating. We've been repeating. Everybody has been repeating. It's really in tab we trust. Whatever team Ateneo brings into the UAAP, they will be contenders. I think that has been established during this last 5 seasons that Coach Tab Baldwin has 5-6 seasons that Coach Tab has coached Ateneo. And I think the answer to my question is really a yes. Ateneo can compete, but they have a lot of work to do. It's not like last season or previous seasons, even the season that Ateneo lost to UP. It's not like that. We don't have the best player, the most valuable player in the league anymore. We don't have Ange Kwame. But Ateneo has competed even when 30 Ravenna was not an MVP contender, even when Ange Kwame wasn't the best foreign student athlete in the UAP. And I think Ateneo has the chance.
Even when we had Chibuese Ike. Sa Maui,
yes,
was
yes,
Ike.
exactly. When we had Ike, Ateneo competed. They still won No. They won. No. They did not won a championship.
They won.
Against,
yes.
Embala.
Sorry,
Embala.
yes. They won one championship with Chibuese Ike and went to the finals the year before. So yes, I think Ateneo is a title contender, not just a Final Four contender. I think Ateneo can repeat. To all my friends, to all the people asking me, yes, Ateneo will contend this season. They have a lot of players, a lot of new players. But we've been there. Remember Coach Tab's first season at Ateneo? We lost 7 of our key guys, and people stepped up. And if you watch Ateneo this off season, I think you will see that there are people, there are players that have the potential to contribute. aside from Balungay, it's really been all over the place, to be honest. There has not been really a consistent guy. I think yun yung one of the things that Ateneo has to work for this coming season is finding those 2 to 3 consistent guys behind Kai Balungay. I think Chris Kuhn has to get out of his rut. I think Gab Gomez has to level up his game. He's probably gonna play starter minutes this coming season. But yeah, I think yun yung main question ng most Ateneans this season. Gab mentioned we lost 4 of our starters, and arguably the best foreign student athlete, an MVP contender in any season. So we'll see. Maybe I'm doing a homer pick. Maybe I'm still right. But I think Ateneo will still contend this coming season.
Ateneo is kind of put into that. It's kind of a weird position that they're in. No? Parang season 85 again. No? They're not rebuilding totally because they still have a lot of holdovers from last season. But they did lose big pieces with very big pieces. So kind of in the middle of maybe rebuilding but not really, but still contending. Parang ganun yung position ng Ateneo ngayon. No? Finding guys that will have to take on bigger roles, but at the same time trying to integrate new guys, younger guys. This is a young team. If you look at the 16 guys we put into the lineup in our Lock Maybe or Not episode, there are a lot of rookies. A lot of young guys.
Phil foreigners. Dami.
Phil foreigners, rookies, guys who are very raw. So a lot of young people here. Sam.
Ako, I have nothing to add. I think napakaganda na ng sinabi ni Maui. I think that is the question in every probably Atenean's mind. Can Ateneo repeat? Or can Ateneo win the championship again? And maganda yung point ni Maui. I think this season in particular really reminds you of the very first season with like Tab, or the first 2 seasons with Coach Tab, where we lost a lot of like key players, and we had Chibuese Ike going up against like a Ben Imbala, arguably one of the best FSAs ever,
Basa
winning a
versus Diouf.
championship. So I think there is a chance. I agree with Maui, and I think that's really the question that people want to ask. So let's end it there. I hope you guys are happy that we covered all of your teams. Kung meron pa kayong questions or intriguing storylines na gusto pag-usapan, comment down below. By the way, we super appreciate all your comments. Kahit hindi kami nakakapag-react or nakakapag-reply, we do read them or we do see them. It just takes a lot of time to reply then. Shout out pala to, I forget his or her name, but I know someone was the one who posted na in Jersey, Jerome Lastimosa, and that's how we first,
very early.
I think that's how we first discovered it, diba? Very early chismis. So we appreciate the community for sharing information like that, for commenting, for engaging with others in the community. So thank you so much. Thank you for your support. Please keep sharing, keep listening. Don't forget to comment, to like, and ask your friends to subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by September 30, by the start of the season. So please help us out. Thanks once again for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed that. We'll do more episodes. See you again next time.